calling the regular council meeting of Cobourg Council for Monday, December 12th, 2016 to order. And as usual, I just ask everyone to stand and join us in a moment of reflection. And I think that at this time of year, we all have something that we'd like to reflect on. Thank you. You may be seated. I'll begin by asking Deputy Mayor Henderson if there are any additions to the agenda.
Yes, Your Worship. A bylaw to authorize an agreement with the Royal Bank of Canada respecting the long-term financing requirements associated with the construction of the Headworks building, known as Water Pollution Control Plant Number 1. And a bylaw to authorize an agreement with the Royal Bank of Canada respecting the long-term financing requirements associated with the construction of the Public Works Parks Facility Building Number 7 will be presented at the meeting tonight. The action recommended that these matters be added to the agenda.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Rowden, discussion? All in favor? And this is carried. Are there any declarations of interest from members of council tonight? If there are not any, Ms. Brace, we can proceed.
Your Worship, we have the adoption of the minutes of the previous regular council meeting.
Deputy Mayor Henderson.
Action recommended that council adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting held on November 21st, 2016.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Darling, discussion on the minutes? All in favor? It is carried.
Your Worship, at this time we have a delegation by Max Lamarchand, New Amherst Limited, requesting naming of the linear park land in the New Amherst subdivision development to Willow Park.
Welcome, Max. Just step forward to the microphone.
Your Worship, member of council, staff, thank you. And I'm here representing New Amherst Ltd. And on this particular issue, speaking for Bill O'Malley, who is not here. He's the president of New Amherst Ltd. And when the question of the park came up, we were asked if we had a particular name for the park. And Bill has requested Willow Park. And it has particular significance to Bill and Bill's family. And I would hope that that would be received well by Cobourg and all of us. Bill's been involved in the New Amherst development since 1990, since basically its inception, and has faithfully supported and invested in Cobourg for the last 27 years. Continues to do so, and he, basically was the inspiration behind building the clock tower, Ray Carruthers and Bill O'Malley with doing the specialty bridges and walkways and upping the planting details on many things. And they've really I think gone over and above to try and invest in Cobourg and New Amherst in particular. And the things, the park systems and the trail systems that are there today are very much a tribute to them. So in this particular case, I believe it is Willow is Bill's granddaughter, one of Bill's granddaughters, and I think it would be wonderful if that could be carried on that park for the Central Park, and hope it meets with favorable consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. I'm going to open up to members of council who may have some questions. Councillor Rowden.
I was just wondering, Max, was there an original name put on it when the subdivision agreement was brought forward to the planning department, or was this just something, an afterthought?
No, there wasn't, and we've talked about naming many things in New Amherst over the years, just because it fits in with the character of creating a significant place. We've talked about a number of the parks there because there are a number of parks, And there's been names floated for various ones. Some have been assigned sort of names like the Clock Tower Park or the Barn Park, because that has some sort of reference to what's there or what was there. Or even the Shield Park, which is a little bit of a shape. But that particular park, the Central Park, has sort of been the Central Park, and looking for a name. So,
Dick Mayor Henderson.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. I can only say, Councillor Round, during my time on planning, I always knew it just as the linear park. And when I run into people that go, yeah, the linear park. And so I believe what's coming forward to council is certainly a strong recommendation.
Any other questions of clarity? Councillor Rowden.
Yes, just one, and I know that linear park goes straight through to Van Dyke. Now, would that be called just Willow Park on one side and then linear park on the other side, or how are we going to arrange that through the planning? Maybe Rob can answer that.
The West Park Village Linear Park already has a name. It was council approved the name of Milestone Park several years ago. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Max.
thank you.
There is a delegation action, and I believe it will be coming under Parks and Recreation.
Councillor Darling.
Yes, Your Worship. The action recommended that council refer the matter to staff for a report.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Sherwin. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, at this time we have the reports, and the first under General Government Services, Committee of the Whole notes.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Henderson.
The action recommended the council receive the notes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held on December the 5th, 2016 for information purposes.
Seconder. Councillor Burkett. Discussion on the notes. All in favor? And is carried.
Your Worship, we have a memo from the Treasurer Director of Corporate Services regarding the proposed Development Charges Bylaw and 2016 Development Charges Background Study in reference to the public meeting held on December 12, 2016.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Henderson.
The action recommended that council authorize preparation of a resolution to adopt the Development Charges Background Study as prepared by Watson and Associate Economists dated November 3rd, 2016. And further, that council authorize preparation of development charges bylaw for the town of Cobourg based on the 2016 development charges background study for presentation to council at a special meeting on January 3rd, 2017.
Okay, seconder. Councillor McCarthy. Any discussion on this? So we've had the public meeting, and we've had the feedback, and of course we're not approving the bylaw tonight. We're just asking a bylaw be prepared that will be presented to council. So we may, in fact, see some changes or recommendations when it does come back to council. So discussion on that, Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in that vein, a couple of options were presented, like phasing it in or delaying it a year and those kinds of things. Do we give direction now, or will we be given options as to what the revenue would be if we went this route versus this route?
But we will get it'll go back to staff for reports, so we will have the planning department and the treasurer both commenting on it when it comes back to council as a bylaw. Go ahead, Councillor McCarthy.
Further to that, and is this bylaw therefore maintained without revision until the next study? In other words, in the next 5 years, can we revisit some of those options, or we have to make a commitment for 5 years?
No, we don't. We do not have to make a 5-year commitment. Any other discussion? Deputy Mayor Henderson.
And just for clarity, because for my mind, I apologize, Your Worship. I know we come back on January 3rd's Committee of the Whole, but if we were to approve this to meet the deadline, then would we go into a special council session for that purpose?
Yes.
So in essence, we will still have that opportunity per your recommendation to have that consideration from
right.
both Mr. Franklin and Mr. Davey.
Yes.
Thank you.
And maybe I could just add a little bit of clarity about the Coburg East. The development of Coburg East is going to put a tremendous amount of strain on the capacity for our water pollution control plant. Not so much our water supply, but certainly our water pollution control plant. And so the DC charges for it are definitely different than some other areas of town. Is that right, Mr. Thrasher?
Yes, Your Worship, that's correct. When the full development of Area C occurs, the Plant 2 will need to be expanded. So these funds need to be accrued in advance.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Darling.
Yes, along that line, Your Worship, the third transit bus would be recommended at that time when the development, which would, again, further enhance the cost of transit.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, any other discussion on the motion? All in favor? It is carried.
Your Worship, we have a letter of resignation from Larry Sherwin, Councillor for the Town of Coburg, dated December 7th, 2016.
Deputy Mayor Henderson.
Action recommended that the letter of resignation of Councillor Larry Sherwin be accepted with regret pursuant to Section 261, subsection 1 of the Municipal Act SO 2001, which provides that a member of council may resign from office by notice in writing filed by the municipal clerk, and further that council declare the office of councillor as vacant effective December 12, 2016, at the conclusion of the regular council meeting, and proceed to take the necessary steps to fill the vacancy within 60 days pursuant to Section 263, subsection 5 of the Municipal Act.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Burkett. Any discussion? I, for one, would like to say to Councillor Sherwin how much I appreciate the contributions he's made, his 6 years on council, and the many contributions he's made even before he was on council. He was, a major contributor to the, to the sports community in the town of Coburg, and then carried on when he was coordinator of Parks and Recreation for a 4-year term, and now Protection Services. So he has done the town of Coburg a great service for the last 6 years, and I certainly am sorry to see you go, Councillor Sherwin. But I understand that family has to come first. All in favor of the motion? Any other discussion? No? All in favor of the motion? Carried.
Your Worship, we have a memo from the municipal clerk on behalf of the council striking committee regarding options for filling this council vacancy.
Deputy Mayor Henderson.
Thank you, Worship. The action recommended is a long one, so please bear with me. Whereas Larry Sherwin resigned as a councillor for the town of Coburg effective December 12, 2016. And whereas council accepted this resignation with regret and declared the council seat vacant at the conclusion of the regular council meeting of December 12, 2016. And whereas the striking committee made up of Mayor Brockenier, Deputy Mayor Henderson, and Councillor Darling met to consider options to proceed to initiate the process for filling the vacancy on municipal council pursuant to Section 263, subsection 1 of the Municipal Act. Now therefore be it resolved that council choose option 3 in the staff report to appoint an eligible elector to fill the vacancy through the established process pursuant to Section 263 of the Municipal Act. And further, that council direct the municipal clerk to post a council vacancy notice on the municipal website and in the local newspaper for at least 2 consecutive weeks after the vacancy was officially declared on December the 12th, 2016. And further, that council direct the municipal clerk to follow the appointment procedure to fill a vacancy on municipal councils outlined in policy LEGOPS 7 and attached to the report. And further, that any eligible elector wishing to be considered for appointment to fill the council vacancy will be required to complete and sign a declaration of qualification, consent to appoint form approved by the municipal clerk or designate. and will be required to submit the form to the municipal clerk by no later than 4 p.m. on Wednesday, January the 18th, in accordance with the Town of Cobourg procedures, to fill a vacancy on Municipal Council Policy LEG-OPS 7, and further, that once the municipal clerk has certified a list of candidates or electors who are eligible for appointment, and prior to the special open council appointment meeting to be held at 4 p.m. on Monday, January 23rd, 2017 in council chambers, a notice of the meeting will be published to include the names of the eligible candidates in alphabetical order, and the meeting agenda will be posted on the municipal civic website. Further, that council will provide each eligible candidate with the opportunity to make a 10-minute presentation to council in support of their application prior to the first round of voting, and the order of the candidates to speak will be drawn by the municipal clerk or designate. And further, the council will fill the vacant councillor position by appointing the person who was chosen through the established process at the special council meeting held on January 23rd, 2017, and who consented to accept the office as appointed, and who will make a formal declaration of office at the January 30th, 2017 regular council meeting. And further, that the striking committee shall conduct a midterm review of the existing coordinator roles and recommend changes as considered appropriate to be presented at the January 30th, 2017 regular council meeting for approval by council.
Okay, we need a seconder, and that's Councillor Rowden. Now it's on the floor for discussion. Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Your Worship. A question I have for members of the striking committee is, will it be possible for presenters or potential candidates to present written material? And what I mean by that is I often personally find it a little challenging to take in all the relevant information in 10 minutes of a verbal presentation. I sometimes like to have the comments in front of me as well. Would that be allowed?
Well, I do believe that they will be able to submit their written presentation along with their dialogue, but they cannot do a PowerPoint presentation. Is that correct? No? Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Henderson.
Through Your Worship, as much as we would like that, no. They're to come up with the notes they have in front of them, and that way it's equitable for everybody.
Okay.
Because some may choose to do that, others may not feel comfortable doing that. So the process, as we know it, is that they're allowed the presentation. I can certainly take other direction from Madam Clerk, but that's my understanding.
Okay, very good. Councillor McCarthy again.
And in that vein, to make it equitable, could every potential candidate be told that their presentation could be in print form as well? I process information much better by reading and listening, not just by listening, and I think it's a pretty important decision that I have to attempt to make that night. It's about accommodating different learning styles, so it's an accessibility issue for me.
Your Worship, can I take direction on this from our Madam Clerk?
Yes, through you to the mayor, I would suggest that the notes would have to be their presentation, not anything additional to that, like resumes or anything that they've done prior. But I would say at the meeting, if they would present their notes, that would be acceptable.
Deputy Mayor Henderson.
If I may, through you, Your Worship, to Councillor McCarthy, do you have a date in mind that you'd like to recommend that notes be submitted?
Deputy Mayor, just that night. Like, I listen and read simultaneously and therefore process it much better.
Thank you. I just want to be clear that we weren't going to another date. Thank you.
Okay. So we will all be receiving the information at the same time, but as I said earlier, we will not have any PowerPoint presentations or any presentations on the screen. It'll just be the exact verbiage that we're going to hear in note form. Councillor Darling.
Yes, Your Worship. As Council is aware, unfortunately, when you book holidays, you have to book them many months in advance, and I have booked holidays for that week. Just wanted to make sure that this was going to be videotaped so that I can watch it online. I know my wife will kill me because I'm on vacation watching it online, but I will be casting a vote, I think, on the 30th. Is that correct? No, you'll be voting that night, but I would still like to watch it online and for that recommendation.
Yes, to the best of my knowledge, all of our Committee of the Whole and regular council meetings are now streamed live. Councillor Burkett.
I had somebody ask me the question if there was a fee in regards to like the nomination fee.
Deputy Mayor Henderson.
If I could direct you to Madam Clerk.
Yes, in accordance with the procedures, there is no fee for the applications.
Any other discussion? I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, and it's carried.
Your Worship, we have a memo from Deputy Mayor Henderson regarding the Public Engagement Policy and Guidelines Summary and comments.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Henderson.
The action recommended, the Council receive the memo for information purposes.
Seconder, Councillor Sherwin. Any discussion on the notes? Deputy Mayor Henderson, would you like to talk to the purpose of the notes?
I certainly can, Your Worship. As you know, we had a process for our very first public engagement policy and guideline. Based on the process and time permitted, we had, I believe, 7 submissions. Of those 7 submissions, 5 were from the public, 2 were from members of council. And what I attempted to do was to take their pertinent questions, submit it, and I have written a response to those questions, which I've shared, obviously, with members of council tonight. Once passed, I'll certainly share with the members themselves, and of course, it will be out for public information. And as was noted within the public engagement policy, we do have accountability session or section where within another year we will review the policy and guideline to see where we are, what's working, and if anything needs to be amended. So that is in summary what's taken place, and I'll take any other comments through the chair if you have further questions.
Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to the Deputy Mayor, thank you for compiling this. I was pleased with the responses to the public on our behalf, as well as indicating our practices. The one that sort of jumped off the page for me was the request to consider user-friendly or plain language in the writing. And if I recall, when the website was completely redone, that was one of the goals, was user-friendly plain language, but that it does require training. And so my thought would be that, and this also has to do with accessibility, because that often emerges throughout any of the communication that the municipality or any public service would want to engage. So I guess what I'm getting to is, at some point, through our accessibility audit, could we look at plain language with respect to our policies, bylaws, procedures? And I know obviously we're doing budget now, but I don't think this just happens by asking for it. You have to actually invest in it.
Deputy Mayor Henderson.
Through your worship, Councillor McCarthy, I concur. I concurred with the proponent who made this submission. I concur with your statement, but I do believe through our CEO and staff, it's a continuous process. I like to believe we're working towards plain language in everything we're doing. I wish I could tell we had a magic wand, but we don't. But I'm confident that through the CEO and training, whether it be the communications officer or any other department, we're all, including council, we're all working towards that long-term goal. So I believe every organization, it could be a goal for every organization in North America, including ours. So again, I'm pleased because I do see incremental changes. I see this being considered. I see an enhancement of definitions, and I have really noticed this in particular in our bylaw review team, where we have taken very complicated language and we are working diligently through staff and Mr. Larmer to work towards plain language, because the public is asking for that. So again, I'm confident, and but yes, we have some kilometers in front of us.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? It's carried.
Your Worship, under Planning and Development Services, we have a notice of hearing of the Committee of Adjustment and Planning Staff Report regarding file A0616, 16 Park Street in Coburg, owned by Daisy Jane Holdings.
Councillor Burkett?
The action recommended, the council endorse the comments of the planning staff and receive the notice of hearing for information purposes.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Sherwin? Any discussion on this? All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, we now have the motions, and we did address the one for development charges.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Henderson?
Thank you for bearing with me, Your Worship. I have a number of motions tonight. At this point, I'd like to make a motion to withdraw, and based on that, it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Sherwin. Whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a memo from the Chief Administration Officer regarding the downtown marketing plan for the town of Coburg. Now therefore be it resolved that Council authorize the securing of a project manager at a cost of $8,000 by February 2017 to identify key attractions to promote the marketing plan and doing business in the downtown core be withdrawn. And if I could speak to that quickly, after last...
I'll get a second.
Oh, seconder first, I apologize.
Okay, Councillor Burkett seconded.
I had a seconder, Councillor Sherwin.
Oh, was it? Oh, sorry. Okay. I missed
So
that.
just to speak to this, I did meet with His Worship and other staff who are involved in this. They felt the 8,000 in isolation wouldn't seek the outcome or the purpose that they were seeking, and based on that, they asked me to reconsider the motion, and I said I would, and that's why it's before you tonight.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Discussion? All in favor of the motion to withdraw? Carried. Deputy Mayor Henderson
That
again.
now leads me to the new motion I'd like to put on the floor, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Sherwin. Whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a memo from the Chief Administration Officer regarding the downtown marketing plan for the town of Coburg. And whereas at the regular council meeting, Deputy Mayor Henderson requested a vote to withdraw and replace the original motion. Now therefore it be resolved that Council direct Ian Davey, Director of Corporate Services, to allocate the unused 2016 Economic Development budget allocated for the Business Attraction Specialist position remains vacant, and place $60,000 into the Economic Development Reserve Fund as part of the 2017 budget deliberations to be used towards downtown business attraction in 2017, when all marketing partners have been consulted and the final marketing plan has been approved by the Marketing Partnership Committee, the Downtown Coalition, and Council. And I want to reiterate again, the money was there, it's not been touched, and it's just an opportunity to focus it for purpose. And again, I want to emphasize it would go into the Economic Development Reserve Fund. So that is for your consideration.
Okay. Discussion on that motion? All in favor? It's carried.
Your Worship, we have a... Oh, I think you're continuing, sorry.
Yes, go ahead. Deputy Mayor Henderson again.
Yes, we have a motion regarding to proceed with the organizational review staffing adjustments. Well, sorry, I'm ahead of myself. I apologize. I have so many tonight. Let me back up to preparation of a resolution to adopt the development charges background study and a development. Pardon me? Thank you. Moving on. This one is in reference to the organizational review staffing adjustments. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Sherwin. Whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a memo from the Chief Administration Officer regarding an update to Council on organizational review staffing adjustments. Now therefore be it resolved that Council accept the report for information purposes and direct staff to 1. Continue negotiations for the establishment of an economic development hub with associated bylaws and agreements for presentation to Council. 2. Carry out negotiations for a joint Cobourg DBIA tourism office to be located at the Marking Building with an associated bylaw and agreement for presentation to Council. In 3rd, proceed with the Cobourg Community Centre office modifications to accommodate additional municipal personnel to be funded within the existing approved budget amounts.
Moved and seconded. Discussion on this. Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to share with Council that the request for consideration of the town offering office space for the DBIA within the facility came from the board that the DBI board of about a year and a half ago, and there's a new board in place, and they really are looking forward to exploring this potential sharing of space, because having the DBIA office right downtown in a public square and shared with tourism is a win-win for both the merchants but also our visitors. So we all know right now we don't quite know what it will look like, but that there's an eagerness to share this opportunity to explore it. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor? It's carried.
The next one deals with the public engagement policy. Again, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Sherwin. Whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a memo from the Bylaw Enforcement Coordinator dated November 2nd, 2016, regarding a public engagement policy and corresponding guidelines for the Town of Cobourg. Now therefore be resolved that Council adopt the Town of Cobourg public engagement policy and the corresponding public engagement guidelines to ensure a consistent and effective approach for engaging constituents, citizens, and stakeholders in Council's decisions that may affect them, including municipal policies, plans, strategies, programs, and services, in order to make informed decisions that consider and address public concerns, values, and input. The draft policy demonstrates another example of the Town of Cobourg's commitment to enhance local transparency and accountability. And I also believe it also reflects in Council's strategic plan in the area of when we state we're working very diligently to enhance open and public communications. So again, I leave that with you.
Okay. Discussion on the public engagement policy. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Henderson again.
The next one is dealing with a grant reduction of fees of the lease of the Market Building for a portion of the 2017 Mental Health Living Room Program as requested by Northumberland Hills Hospital and program participants. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Sherwin. Whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a memo from the municipal clerk regarding a request from Northumberland Hills Hospital Mental Health Services and program participants for reduction of market building rental fees. Now therefore be it resolved that Council authorize a reduction in the fees for the Northumberland Hills Mental Health Program for regular lease of the market building from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays for 3 12-week sessions by changing the 1/2 day rate of $95, which is a reduction of the regular 150 full-day rental rate, in recognition of the value of the program to the participants, the number of regular annual program bookings, and the substantial increase in the 2016 fees and charges schedule from the $65 prior year rental rate. And just a piece of clarification, because this particular group signed with the town a long-term lease, they weren't really aware that we were moving towards a community grant application process. And when they came and were aware of the date, which ended October 31st, they were well past that date. So that's why this is for your consideration, and it's made very clear that next year, if they wish to have a reduction, then they too would have to apply and meet the new deadline for future municipal community grant applications.
Okay. Councillor McCarthy and then Councillor Darling.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to the Deputy Mayor. My understanding about this was that they weren't asking for a reduction. It's that they prepaid their rental fee because the intent was to pay the rate for such an organization using the facility, and it was that prepayment piece that it's more or less just a little sort of hiccup in grandfathering, but otherwise they'll pay the price that's expected of them. Is that correct?
Yes, Councillor, through your worship, Councillor McCarthy, it's absolutely correct.
Okay. Councillor Darling.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, but I was just going to clarify that same thing, that they had prepaid, and that's why we accepted it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, and is carried. Deputy Mayor Henderson again.
There's a motion from the Committee of the Whole to authorize a 5-year extension to the existing agreement with iCompass Technologies, Inc. to provide Civic Web e-agenda meetings, management solutions, and record management solutions for the town of Cobourg. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Sherwin. Whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a memo from the municipal clerk regarding an extension of the Civic Web e-agenda iCompass agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that Council authorize a 5-year extension to the existing agreement with iCompass Technologies, Inc. to provide Civic Web e-agenda meeting management solutions, MMS, and records management solution, RMS, for the corporation of the town of Cobourg, including software and support at no additional cost, under the same terms and conditions as the existing agreement for hosting fees, which expires in or on January 2017. And I believe it's self-explanatory.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion. Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Worship, and I'll put this question through to whomever can answer it, most likely the town clerk. If we're going for a 5-year extension for the same level of service, does that mean that the capacity with which we use the iCompass software must pretty much remain the same? I'm thinking of other projects that might come on board, like we had extra ad hoc committees. I know they come and go, but is this package for a certain level of usage, and if we needed to have greater capacity, would we have to pay more?
Ms. Brace.
Yes, through you, Councillor McCarthy, through the Mayor. Of course, we would have to add, if we were going to add additional programs, for example, the broadcasting, there was an increase in fees for that. Generally, they enhance the program throughout the year, and all the enhancements are not charged extra. If we go over the data that we're using our regular rate, then we pay additional fees, and that's part of the agreement. And we have an ongoing fee for their support, but if it'd have to be a pretty special project to increase it.
Other questions or discussion? All in favor? Carried. Councillor Darling, Parks and Recreation.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I have a motion from the Committee of the Whole to accept the Recreation Strategy and Implementation Plan for the Town of Cobourg. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Burkhardt. Whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a memo from the Director of Recreation and Culture regarding the Recreation Strategy and Implementation Plan final report. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council accept the Recreation Strategy and Implementation Plan for the Town of Cobourg as presented.
Okay, moved and seconded again. We've had a bit of discussion on this in several presentations. Any other discussion? All in favor? It is carried. Okay, yeah, that's Public Works. Councillor Rowden?
Yes, Your Worship, and I guess one of my motions got put into Parks and Rec by mistake, but we're human beings, right? Motion from the Committee of the Whole to award a tender of 2017 combination dump truck and snowplow. And it's moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Henderson, whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a memo from the Manager of Roads and Sewers Department regarding the award of a tender for a combination dump truck snowplow replacement vehicle. Now therefore be it resolved that Council authorize the award of the tender CO 16-17 for the new 2017 combination dump truck snowplow be awarded to the lowest bidder, Cornwall Freightliner, in the amount of $2,002 $983.80, HST excluded, to be funded from the 2016 Vehicle Replacement Reserve Fund.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor? Carried.
And Your Worship, the next one is a motion from the Committee of the Whole to approve funding in the 2017 budget to install automatic voice annunciation AVA capability on the Town of Cobourg transit buses. And moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Henderson, whereas the Committee of the Whole has considered a memo from the Director of Public Works regarding an automatic voice annunciation AVA retrofits for the Town of Cobourg transit buses. Now therefore it be resolved that Council approve funding in the 2017 budget to retrofit the 2 existing transit buses with automatic voice annunciation and capability, and to install this equipment on the new transit bus when purchased as well. And I just to explain a little bit on that, this is something that's come down from the province, has put an additional cost on the municipalities now, and it will be put in the budget probably to the tune of approximately $30,000 per bus to retrofit. So.
That's correct, Councillor Rowden. It's mandatory.
And mandatory
because
of accessibility.
We will conform.
Yes.
Yeah. Any discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, we now have the reading of the bylaws.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Henderson.
Your Worship and members of Council, there are 7 bylaws for presentation, namely a bylaw to authorize an agreement with the Royal Bank of Canada respecting the long-term financing requirements associated with the construction of the Headworks building at Water Pollution Control Plant Number 1. A bylaw to authorize an agreement with the Royal Bank of Canada respecting the long-term financing requirements associated with the construction of the Public Works Parks Facility Building 7 at Northern Industrial Park. A bylaw to amend bylaw number 43/2015, Refreshment Vehicle License and Regulating Bylaw, to provide an exemption for the Cobourg Farmers Market Association in order to obtain a permit at a reduced rate of $250 in order to operate refreshment vehicles on municipally owned property as part of the weekly seasonal farmers market held in Victoria Square from May to December. A bylaw to assume the linear park at New Amherst subdivision. A bylaw to establish water rates and wastewater rates upon owners or occupants of land and premises connected to municipal water mains and sanitary sewers within the town of Cobourg. A bylaw to authorize the mayor and municipal clerk to execute a residential development agreement with Cobourg BGS Stallwood Homes and Lakefront Utility Services, Inc. on Lonesbury Drive in the East Village subdivision, Cobourg. A bylaw to establish and layout a public highway to facilitate residential developments known as West Park Village, Phase 4D, Wilkins Gate Extension, and New Amherst Stage 2, Phase 1B, Cobourg. And I move that first reading be given of these bylaws.
Just a question of clarity, Deputy Mayor Henderson. You did start to read the bylaw for assuming the linear park at New Amherst, and it's my understanding that we are not ready to do that, so that is not one of the bylaws. So we will exclude that bylaw.
Okay, thank you for that, because I forgot that we were asking for a staff report. I apologize.
Okay, so that bylaw is excluded from the first reading, and I'll now ask for a seconder on the first readings. Okay, Councillor Burkett, any discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, I move that Council go into Committee of the Whole for the second reading of these bylaws.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Burkett. All in favor? Carried.
A bylaw to authorize an agreement with the Royal Bank of Canada respecting the long-term financing requirements associated with the construction of the Headworks building at Water Pollution Control Plant number 1. I move for second reading.
Okay, any discussion on the second reading? All in favor? Carried.
A bylaw to authorize an agreement with the Royal Bank of Canada respecting the long-term financing requirements associated with the construction of the Public Works Parks Facility Building number 7 Northern Industrial Park. I move for second reading.
Okay, discussion on the second reading? All in favor? Carried.
A bylaw to amend bylaw number 43/2015, refreshment vehicle license, and regulating bylaw to provide an exemption for the Cobourg Farmers Market Association in order to obtain a permit at a reduced rate of $250 in order to operate refreshment vehicles on municipally owned property as part of the weekly seasonal farmers market held in Victoria Square from May to December. I move for second reading.
Okay, any discussion on this? Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Last week in Committee of the Whole, I had posed the question about, and the town clerk did answer, about the situation where a farmer's market vendor wasn't there for the whole season, because usually it's a May to December season. So the 50% reduction in the license fee, which currently would be going from $500 to $250, is quite generous, really, because it requires staff time. However, I did speak to the policy coordinator as well about this, and it's just something we'll have to wait and see what the uptake is of this, and whether or not there are farmers market vendors that come into the picture mid-season or near the end of the season, because that's actually what it's like with the farmers market vendors. They start out with core members, and then some start coming through as harvest begins. So it's a thing that's in flux, and we'll just have to see how this works out. But basically, everybody's pretty happy that a refreshment vehicle will be permitted down there.
Okay, any other discussion on the second reading? All in favor of the second reading? Is carried. Councillor Rowden.
It's a bylaw to establish water rates and wastewater rates upon owners of the or occupants of lands and premises connected to the municipal water mains and sanitary sewers within the town of Cobourg. And I give this bylaw second reading.
Okay. And when we discussed the water and wastewater rates last week, again, even though we're going to see a minor increase on the rates, when you take a look at the 14 comparators we use, we continue to be the lowest cost out of the 14 comparators. So I think that's important. Any further discussion? All in favor of the second reading is carried. Councillor Burkett.
A bylaw to authorize the mayor and municipal clerk to execute a residential development agreement with Cobourg BGS Stallwood Homes and Lakefront Utility Services Inc. on Lonsbury Drive in the Cobourg, or in the East Village subdivision, Cobourg. I move this for second reading.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Okay.
A bylaw to establish and lay out a public highway to facilitate residential developments known as West Park Village Phase 4D, Wilkins Gate Extension, and New Amherst Stage 2, Phase 1B, Cobourg. I move this for second reading.
Okay. Discussion on this? All in favor? It's carried. Deputy Mayor Henderson.
Thank you, Worship. Let the committee rise.
All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, the bylaw to authorize an agreement with the Royal Bank of Canada respecting the long-term financing requirements associated with the construction of the Headworks building at WPCP number 1. A bylaw to authorize an agreement with the Royal Bank of Canada respecting the long-term financing requirements associated with the construction of the Public Works Parks Facility Building number 7, Northern Industrial Park. A bylaw to amend bylaw number 43, 2015, refreshment vehicle license, and regulating bylaw to provide an exemption for the Cobourg Farmers Market Association in order to obtain a permit at a reduced rate of $250 in order to operate refreshment vehicles on municipally owned property as part of the weekly seasonal farmers market held in Victoria Square from May to December. A bylaw to establish water rates and wastewater rates upon owners or occupants of land and premises connected to municipal water mains and sanitary sewers within the town of Cobourg. A bylaw to authorize the mayor and municipal clerk to execute a residential development agreement with Cobourg BGS Stallwood Homes and Lakefront Utility Services Inc. on Lonesbury Drive in the East Village subdivision, Cobourg. A bylaw to establish and lay out a public highway to facilitate residential developments known as West Park Village Phase 4D, Wilkins Gate Extension, and New Amherst Stage 2, Phase 1B, Cobourg. Have received first and second readings without amendments, and I move third reading of these bylaws and that they finally be passed and ordered signed by the mayor and municipal clerk with the corporate seal affixed.
Seconder, Councillor Burkett. All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, under correspondence, we have Northumberland County Council Report number 2016-86, prepared by CAO Jennifer Moore, regarding achieving more cost-effective municipal government across Northumberland County, the 2016 Annual Progress Report.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Henderson.
The act recommended the council receive the report for information purposes.
Seconder, Councillor Burkett. Discussion on this? All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, at this time we have the council coordinator announcements.
Okay. I do have just a couple of announcements today. First of all, I want to make an announcement of clarification. About 2 weeks ago, there was an article in the paper about the Port Hope industrial park starting to sell properties, and there was a company, I think they were called STD, that were relocating from Cobourg to Port Hope, and so that company never ever did exist in Cobourg. They had a small operation out in Hamilton Township. it was a home-based operation, and so that they did not, in fact, relocate from Cobourg. I also the confectionery company that has been leasing 100,000 square feet of space from us in Northern Industrial Park for the last, I think about 7 months now. They are a little bit behind schedule, but they're expecting to be operational by February of 2017. And then when you see that they've installed $17 million worth of equipment, you can understand that it takes a while to get that all installed properly, sequenced and started up. So the good news is there will be probably a formal announcement in February of 2017. Our economic development officer continues to work with a local business that wants to relocate, and she is working with them to try and find a suitable location for them. And they do want to stay in Cobourg, so that's the good news. She's also working with a person that's doing a feasibility on building another hotel in the town of Cobourg. So there are some things happening, and hopefully some of those things will come to fruition. And that's the end of my report. Councillor Deputy Mayor Henderson.
Thank you, Worship. Probably one of the most important points of my notes tonight, there will be a media release going out after I present it tonight to let you know there is a media release with budget. I try to make it quite extensive. It will speak to not only the sessions we've had up to this particular time, so we'll present to both council and the public a chronological order what's taken to date, so it will serve in future as a record of performance. But it will also reiterate all the dates that have been set up into including when we're hoping to pass the budget. The target date for that is January 30th of 2017, where we're hoping to pass both the draft 2017 municipal operating and capital budget with final approval from council. And also on February the 8th, we've already scheduled an open council session to review midterm regarding council's strategic plan. So that information will be out to all individuals on our website, included the media, and that way, out of fairness, you will all receive it at the same time. Added to that, we've also, thanks to Mr. Davey and staff, the town audit by our auditors is ongoing as we speak. It's a long process. Generally, they bring the results back to this council in April, May of 2017. I also attended End the Silence to end the violence against women, children, and others. I'd also like to thank town staff, and I hope I have it right, the Luna office at the far end of town, who did considerable work to make that site very professional. I hope you've had an opportunity to go down and see. It's just the other side of where the old baseball, the Lions Center used to be. It's quite striking. And I'd also like to recognize the contributions of Petra Hartwick. I had the privilege of always interacting with Petra for the past 6 years on council, and she had the pleasure of retiring a few weeks ago, and I know she's enjoying her retirement. And I'd also like to thank Councillor Sherwin, because working along with him for the past 6 years, only when you work in council can you fully understand the commitment and time that's required. So, Councillor Sherwin, thank you, and best wishes as you move to Kingston. That is my report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Darling.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. As Deputy Mayor Henderson just elaborated on, I attended the End of Violence, and it was a very moving half hour. I was quite set back by it in the fact that I've had 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren, or 3 female grandchildren. I've never really looked at it from that perspective, so it really makes one think. I also did attend the audit board or the audit committee meetings. I think they're doing a wonderful job there. As a board member of the Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority, I attended a public meeting at the GRCA Forest Center on November 22nd. Just to elaborate a little on that, the GRCA is in the process of updating the forest management plan for the Ganaraska Forest. The last forest management plan was completed in 1998 and provided a framework for managing the forest for the next 10 years. The current FMP has a December 31st, 2017 sunset date, and the new plan must be developed to guide the use and management of the Ganaraska Forest moving forward. Just to give some people an idea of what they actually do and how far in advance we look after those things. With my family and many other citizens of the community, attended the Christmas Magic. It was wonderful. I'd like to thank the park staff and volunteers who did such a great job making that evening possible. Speaking of parks, the outdoor rink is cooling, and we expect to have it open for public use this weekend. Cobourg Community Center, the seniors' Christmas Gala took place on December 3rd and was well attended. They had a great meal and great entertainment and dancing. And the seniors' high tea is January 27th. Tickets are now on sale. A child and adult update. We hosted a Learn to Skate session with our new friends from the New Canadian Centre to date, December 12th, to introduce youth to the basics of skating. And the registration for child-adult programs for January is now open and going well. We have winter camps that are available through the school holiday break, running December 27th to the 30th and January 3rd to the 6th. And a few reminders again, the Mayor's Skating Party on December 29th at 7 p.m. The event is free, but we're accepting donation to Fair Share. And in the past, members of the Cobourg Cougars have been known to participate in this event, and I think we're expecting them again. The Tankard Scotty's Turn of the Heart, everybody's aware that that's in the new year. Tickets are now on sale online. The over 55 games, the February 21st to 23rd, 2017, and again, tickets are, I don't think the tickets are on sale just yet for that. I'd have to confirm that. No. And the RBC Cup, May 13th to 21st on 2017. Tickets are now on sale online and at the CCC. I attended my first meeting of the Canadian National Fastball Under 16 event that's going to be held at Legion Fields in the summer. We had a meeting the other night, and there's some great things that are going to happen there. And for all these events, they're still looking for volunteers and would be more than happy to accept. And lastly, but not least, again, Councillor Sherwin, I think we went to school together and have played hockey together, and I might have yelled at you once or twice while you were refereeing me, but we'll let bygones be bygones. I do wish you the best, sir, in your move to Kingston, you and your family. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Councillor Rowden.
Thank you, Your Worship. And first of all, I'd like to thank Council for all the concerns over the past 9 months when my wife's been very sick, and we will get off of this month, hopefully, and everything's coming together a little bit at a time. I'd also like to thank Councillor Sherwin for all his work that he's worked with us in the last 6 years, and appreciated being with you. And I know that we've talked about a lot of different things, and we've had great discussions about what happens in politics. All the best to you when you move to Kingston. First of all, I'd like to say that Division Street is finally complete, and the construction company has kind of moved out. The only thing, there's a little work on some of the traffic lights, and I know that our director has been very patient with things there this summer, and it's been, I think you'll notice the traffic seems to be moving a lot better. I noticed even with the one lane, and then there's a turn lane, it seems to be going. Building number 7, the final inspections are this Friday. That's the plumbing and electrical and the town building inspector, and I understand that After that, if everything goes well, the town employees will be able to move in. And on that note, I got to thank our Public Works for getting out for our real first major snowstorm last night, and they had the roads really under control and well sanded, and everybody was moving well by the end of today, and it proved that the great employees that we do have on the job. And another footnote with regards to the Canada Conservation Authority. A meeting was last Thursday night, and Pam Lancaster gave a presentation on the stewardship programs that she does for all the municipalities, including Cobourg. And this past year, there's been thousands of trees planted in along different areas, and she works in coordination with a lot of groups, not just particular ones, and private individuals and volunteers, and also the Highway Heroes. And of course, as everybody knows, there was 10,000 trees planted between here and Port Hope on the north side of the highway, and she's taken in applications for next year for any of the municipalities and any of the public that will want to get interested in having trees planted. They can get a reduced price at the Conservation Authority, or they can have them funded through the trees programs. Time to get onto that. And that's my report, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Rowden. Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you. Well, this is the last council meeting of 2016, which means the next time we meet is Cobourg 2017, Canada's 150th birthday, and the 180th birthday for the town of Cobourg. And I know you've all heard me speak about what's coming, but the big one that, at least in terms of launching it, is the Mayor's Levy, January 1st. There will be some little extra things, but it's just fun to be at the Mayor's Levy from 2 to 4, January 1st. But I also wanted to share that the art gallery is going to be open for the public that is attending, because they realize people will want to explore the building and the facilities. So the board members are going to be available for that. And further to the art gallery, the juried show opened on Saturday, which was just phenomenal. The artwork this year is it's stunning. I really would encourage everyone to go see it. And the juried art show, you can actually, most of the pieces are for sale. That's very unusual. Exhibitions, the artwork is usually not for sale, but that's what juried shows are about. And I want to share that the top winner by a jury of professional artists was Hilda Van Netten. And you might know her. She's a local artist, of course, but Hilda is the artist that runs the program at Brookside, and she helped the young men prepare a street piano this summer. So Hilda's got a real artistic flair, but she also has strong community spirit. And a reminder as well that looking for very unique, one-of-a-kind gifts is as close as the boutique in the gallery, which is available during gallery hours, and there's one in Port Hope as well. But back to Canada 150, one of the signature events is the Victoria Square project, and we're really just on hold until we find out about funding. However, the community is invited until this Friday. You can name the square contest, and it's a survey online. If you go to the home page of the town's website, you'll see a little picture, Name the Square. For those who aren't comfortable with an online survey, you can come to the office at the hall and submit your choice. Those names can be provided to you. In terms of the DBIA, this is their Christmas season, and a reminder to the public that there's a 1-hour grace period. That's a partnership between the DBIA and the town of Cobourg, and in that way, if the metered parking is still in place, but if you get really kind of preoccupied shopping, there is the 1-hour grace period. Tomorrow, if you're available at 2:30, in the Citizens Forum is the unveiling of a portrait of Marie Dressler. The Dressler Foundation, of course, has reorganized itself with this wonderful exhibition, or museum, I should say, that people can visit. However, it meant sorting out their inventory, and they thought it appropriate to have a picture of Marie Dressler, and the unveiling's tomorrow, and you will be served carrot cake from the buttermilk if you care to come. There was also an unveiling ceremony at the library, and one of the really large collection of photographed portraits of Marie Dressler is there. And finally, second to last, I want to just share, along with Deputy Mayor and Councillor Darling, I attended the Silence About Violence ceremony on December 6th, which is held in remembrance of women experiencing violence, but it was the day of the 14 women who were assassinated, let's say, by a young man because of their gender and being in engineering. However, I want to remind people that this is a place of public art and meditation. It started out with the sculpture created by Frances Gage, who is still in the community, and I've shared with her that this extension of finishing of the project has occurred, and I'd like to encourage members of the community that when you go down to the gathering place, and it's there every day, it's outdoor art, what has been built, and with partnerships, as the Deputy Mayor suggested, Luna, is a raised air circle, and this allows people to sit and meditate or think about whatever comes to mind, but of course it was done for that reason. And Larry, I'll miss you at Home Hardware. I'm Tool-Time Deb, and he was my go-to, so all the best. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McCarthy. Councillor Sherwin, you're next.
Thank you, Your Worship. Now, here goes. I want to thank the fellow council members here. You've made this easy. And leaving Coburg, I know I leave it in very good hands from the mayor down. I think with your knowledge and passion for this town, you're going to place Coburg in very good stead in this province. To staff, from our CAO right down to the guy sweeping the street, thank you. You made this easy. It really is. To the public, thank you for your support in putting me here. I appreciate that. It's very humbling to know that you've touched that many people. To anyone that's looking to fill this seat, make sure your ducks are in a row. Make sure your family's on side. This isn't a part-time job by any stretch. It takes a lot of work to be prepared for these meetings, so make sure you're ready. And to everyone, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thank you.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Sherwin. Councillor Burkett?
So I just have some quick notes in regards to the CIP. Just kind of a overview of Glenn's report from last week. So since the approval by Council in March 2016, the program has seen 5 projects approved by Council in the downtown, having a total ground allocation of about $55,000 and total secured loan applications about $52,000. Work has been completed on 2 of the projects, with the 3rd project well underway and the remaining 2 projects to be implemented in 2017. From what we can see so far, there's a noticeable improvement in the appearance of these buildings and have added a benefit being the maintenance and enhancement of the existing building stock. It is a hope that the ongoing implementation of this program will build momentum and stimulate new building rehabilitation and improvements projects in the downtown. Moving forward in 2017, the Downtown Coalition Advisory Committee has working on establishing a formal protocol to intake and project criteria and performance evaluation and monitoring system. In addition, It is proposed that a competitive intake process will be implemented with 2 application intake periods, spring and late summer. Finally, the development of a communication plan, including marketing and outreach to businesses, landowners, and developers, will be a critical component of the process moving forward. So, and then the other item I do have is for anyone that would like to attend, Durham College students showcase design work for the downtown heritage or Cobourg Heritage Downtown. There's an open house this Wednesday, December 14th, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. in the Citizens Forum. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Burkett, question, Councillor McCarthy?
Thank you, Worship. And through to you, to Councillor Burkett, I appreciate your summary statements of the CIP. One of the questions that I had and was wondering if you or perhaps someone from staff can answer, with the goal of intensification, I was wondering whether or not an elevator in, say, a 3-story building is something a property owner could consider, because the building code doesn't require it, but if that was a way of enhancing the usage of the space, if that was potentially an eligible project.
And I would refer this to either Rob Franklin or we have Allison as well.
Through you, Your Worship, in that case, that project would still be a redevelopment of the property and would still qualify. That's a specific accessibility. Visitability is very important for some of these downtown buildings. Any improvement that like that, again, would go through the intake process, would have a scoring criteria. That's proposed to be coming back to council and the downtown committee probably earlier this spring, and that would certainly be a project that would certainly be looked at.
Go ahead.
If I may just add one thing through you, Mr. Mayor. Through the CIP, there's actually quite detailed program requirements that are outlined for the various programs in the CIP, and they are stackable. So a building improvement grant or loan, the program requirements for that include exterior and interior modifications to provide for barrier-free accessibility. So that type of work is certainly considered eligible under the CIP programs.
Thank you for that, Alice. Deputy Mayor Henderson?
Through your worship to Councillor Burkett, with this new work I know is being done by staff and the CEO, can you give us a target date when you think that might come back to council?
I've been told that in early, there should be a future staff report in early 2017.
Okay. All right, we're finished with the coordinator reports then. Thank you.
Your Worship, we do have a closed session and there will be action items coming out of it.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Henderson.
The action recommended that council meet in closed session in accordance with Section 239 of the Municipal Act SO 2001 regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, Economic Development Advisory Committee applications will be coming out for that purpose. We also have Accessibility Advisory Committee applications, Planning Sustainability Advisory Committee applications. We have Labor Relations or Employee Negotiations, Staff Reorganization, and Employee Negotiations.
Seconder, Councillor Darling. All in favor? Carried. We will recess and then come back, and there will not be any significant announcements, but we will be making some appointments to committees. So we'll allow a few minutes here for the press to ask some questions before we go into closed session.